to talk about
Big Bad Wolves from Israel. Also, the directors of Rabies, Aaron Keschhaus and Navat Papusato.
I know what you're about to say.
I just gotta say this on tape though, is that I really thought it was going to be a werewolf movie.
It's extremely my fault.
So yeah, because Dana told me it was a werewolf movie and didn't tell me that she found out otherwise.
No, you and Jay kept saying, "Oh, Big Bad Wolves," and I was like, "Yeah." And I knew you guys didn't read the synopsis in the book, so I was like,
So
"I'm gonna leave them on for a week and a half."
You pulled out a Marco.
Oh, Dana, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, but wasn't it a satisfying surprise?
We're watching the movie, and essentially it's about child abduction. And I'm like, so the girl gets abducted, but then turns into a werewolf to save herself.
That was probably the best lighthearted comedy thriller that involved
child abduction.
There was a lot of funny moments.
It was. I did not expect it to be that funny. A lot of the violence is done suggestive. This movie, actually, if you think of it, is an Israeli Hitchcock movie. Ryan, you actually mentioned how much you dug the soundtrack. I thought it was overbearing, but once the soundtrack was brought up in the Q&A, they said, we come from Israel, in a place, whenever they make a movie, it's always a traditional Israeli sound that they wanted to detach themselves from. So they wanted a Bernard Herrmann, a Hitchcock composer. He was famous for a lot of Hitchcock's movies. They wanted a Bernard Herrmann roller coaster experience. This gives it a really fun, thriller, scary time. And I'm not saying this movie is like a PG-13. This is a hard R, considering the subject matter. But there are a lot of fun elements, and there's a lot of black comedy in this. Not Dave Chappelle black comedy, but black comedy, like really dark stuff.
The whole child abduction thing, it got me hooked because it's the most probable, scary, real-life horror that happens on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, you could be really scared of a guy with a hockey mask coming to kill you in the dark, but there's a good fucking chance in your life you will cross paths with someone's child getting kidnapped by some sick fuck.
Well, if you have kids, the biggest scary notion is what happens if they get kidnapped and stuff. That is the primal fear of any parent or anybody who's ever had to care for a younger sibling or something. You know, that's a big scary moment for anybody. And I'm just saying, this is one of the elements of this movie. There's like more than that. This is not about child abduction because it branches off.
It definitely branches off.
When the plot kicks in, which actually kind of threw me off a little bit, because oh no, this is going to be a torture porn. I'm not a big fan of torture porn. Saying I'm not a big fan of it hints that it's going to get there, but once it gets to the torture porn, the black comedy kicks in and it really turns it over its head.
It's a brutal comedy.
Yeah, brutal comedy. So, who's the wolf in this? Was it the Padarak? Was it the guy who kidnapped him, or the cop that...
They're all big bad wolves.
They're all big bad wolves.
They're all big bad wolves, yeah, I think so too.
They play around with the role. The role's kind of transferred.
Yeah, and we stayed back for like the Q&A, and I have never seen that many comments from the filmmakers themselves that would receive an applause. And he said, like, you know what, we come from a war-torn area. If you think of the Middle East, there's always violence or war-related, religious-related. It's like a hodgepodge of like different elements, and violence always being an outcome. The director himself, he served in the army, and mentioning a story, he took a bus. 2 days later, that same bus was exploded.
Yeah.
So there's always violence.
Yeah.
And when you're introduced to that amount of violence, you also kind of build up your own sense of humor about it.
You kind of have to find something funny about horrible situations.
Yeah. Human laughter is the most basic of like your reaction. If you have like some sort of dark humor, I almost feel that you're the most balanced that a person can be. So like I praise them for like coming out with a movie that still is pushing the buttons, but they also did it in a classy way. It's really a really beautifully shot movie.
I thought it was an amazing thriller, and it toys with its audience. It does exactly the right thing. It leads you on. It keeps you guessing from beginning to end.
I ain't gonna give anything away about the last shot, but it's a really ironic last shot. So look for it.
Look for it.
Overall, I'd give it 3.5 severed heads.
3.5 severed heads?
Yeah.
I've given it a solid 3 heads. 3 heads in a basket.
You know, these ratings don't mean anything. You know that.
I have not given it no severed heads. And I think a movie without severed heads is no movie at all.
How many severed heads would you give Bambi? I just really want to know this.
Well, I would give Bambi 4 severed heads and a dead mom.
Blood Shack Rants! Fantasia!